Hello, dear friends. I hope you're doing really well. Let's continue reading. We're going to start the book of Deuteronomy. Well, we're in Deuteronomy. We're going to start chapter 5 of Deuteronomy. And we're going to see that in this chapter we have the 10 commandments again. The same way they were told in Exodus 20. The 10 commandments are here again. Let's read. Then Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and the ordinances which I am speaking today in your hearing, that you may learn them and observe them carefully. The Lord our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. The Lord did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, with all those of us alive here today. The Lord spoke to you face to face at the mountain from the midst of the fire. While I was standing between the Lord and you at that time to declare to you the word of the Lord, for you were afraid because of the fire and did not go up the mountain, he said. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on earth beneath or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children and on the third and the fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave him unpunished who takes his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant or your ox or your donkey or any of your cattle or your sojourner who stays with you, so that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out of there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God commanded you to serve the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you on the land which the Lord your God gives you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, and you shall not desire your neighbor's house, his field, or his male servant, or his female servant, his ox, or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. These words the Lord spoke to all your assembly at the mountain from the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick gloom with a great voice, and he added no more. He wrote them on 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. And when you heard a voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was burning with fire, you came near to me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders. You said, Behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We have seen today that God speaks with man, yet he lives. Now, then why should we die? For this great fire will consume us if we hear the voice of the Lord our God any longer, then we will die. For who is there of all flesh who has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Go near and hear all that the Lord our God says, then speak to us all that the Lord our God speaks to you, and we will hear and do it. The Lord heard the voice of your words when you spoke to me, and the Lord said to me, I have heard the voice of the words of these people, which they have spoken to you. They have done well in all that they have spoken. Oh, that they had such a heart in them that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it may be well with them and with their sons forever. Go say to them, return to your tents. But as for you, stand here by me, that I may speak to you all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which you shall teach them, that they may observe them in the land which I give them to possess. So you shall observe to do just as the Lord your God has commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left. You shall walk in all the way which the Lord your God has commanded you, that you may live and that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which you will possess. So this is almost a repetition of the Ten Commandments, but there is more. I see that there is more explanation in some of the commandments, and not only that, but Moses has told us how it was when they were at Mount Sinai and God appeared to them. He came to the top of Mount Sinai in a form of fire, in fire and smoke, and his voice came from the fire, and when the people, all Israel heard the voice of the Lord. All Israel heard the voice of God. But it was like really loud trumpet and thunder, so the people were really scared. And I think something weird happened, because even though everybody heard God, everybody, not only Moses, but all Israel heard the voice of God, they got really scared. I mean, I'm sure they were excited but scared, and they did something that I don't think they were supposed to. They said something that they were not supposed to say, I think, although I understand, it must have been pretty scary. They said to Moses, we heard God, but we don't want to hear his voice again. Something like we heard him, but please, we don't want to hear his voice again, because we're gonna die or something. And it's like they told Moses, the people of Israel told Moses, you go with God and God tell you what to do, and then you tell us. So I think that was a little weird. I mean, maybe I'm judging badly, but they said we don't want to hear the voice of God. It's like they shouldn't have said that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was really scary. I don't know. But they should have stayed there with God. We want to be with God, or even though it was scary or something. But they told Moses, no, we don't want to hear his voice. We're gonna die. You go hear God, and then you tell us what to do. So Moses was a mediator, and God heard this, and God is gonna promise very soon in this book to Israel a prophet like Moses. And who is that, dear friends? That's Jesus. And that's exactly what Jesus does. He's a mediator between God the Father and people, right? He's a mediator. So that's exactly what God is going to do. Unfortunately, when that happens, very few of Israel are going to understand that this thing that God the Father did, that He sent His Son, the mediator. Jesus is God, but He's also 100% man. So, this is pretty much this is a picture. What's happening here between it's a picture of Jesus Christ. Moses is a picture of Jesus Christ. Moses is Moses. Jesus is Jesus. But Moses is a picture of Jesus Christ, because Moses would go with God and then he would tell the people what to do. And you see how Moses is telling how the people were really scared, and they did not want to go up the mountain. They were really scared of the voice of God. And they said, please, we don't want to go. They said that to Moses. You go, and then God tells you, and then you tell us. So that's exactly what's going to happen, in Deuteronomy, and that's going to happen in the future when God sends His Son, Jesus Christ, to save us, not only as a mediator, but He's our Savior. And Jesus is 100% God and 100% human. So it's kind of, so He's the only one who can save us. He's the only person that was born as a Savior, All of us, all humanity, we were born sinners. But Jesus was born perfect and a Savior. So This is a perfect, Moses is a perfect picture of Jesus Christ as a mediator, right? So we read the whole chapter. Hopefully we can continue tomorrow. Bye bye.